one of the early concepts you talked about was that I think you said the most important but the most violated principle of leadership is to lead by example. So, and maybe going back to what you were just talking about the leader, why is that the most important, and why do you think it's violated so often?
Look, we're animals, and we are social animals, and we learn by mimicking. 98% of all of our behavior, all of our perspective, all of our personal philosophy was shaped by mimicking the authority figures in our life as we were being conditioned and growing up. That's the reason why a child learns to speak before they can read. Like, how can they learn to speak? Because they can't read, so they can't learn academically. How do they learn to speak? They learn to speak by mimicking the adult figures in their world. And if a child who is born in Topeka but gets put in Afghanistan is gonna speak Afghani. Goes to Beijing, going to speak Mandarin. Gets put in Mexico, is going to speak Mexican. So that is true of all of our behavior. 98% of all our behavior, perspectives, and personal philosophies and belief systems have been learned by mimicking. And so the people around you are learning how to behave. The attitudes, the mindsets, the philosophies, the being customer centric or not, having a heart for your mission and how you serve your clients or not, is going to be mimicked based on what they're seeing in the alpha of the tribe, right? And we all know that a child at age 3 starts to individuate, where they stop listening to the parent. In fact, they're going to try to do the opposite of what the parent says, because they need to rebel to break away in order to become their own individual human being. But the one thing the human animal never does is never stop watching. And we are constantly adapting our behaviors to the alpha of the tribe that you belong to, because we evolved where you needed to be in a group in order to survive. And if you were kicked out of the tribe, voted off the island, and you were left out on the savannah in a loincloth and a spear, you were an appetizer for a saber-toothed tiger. So you needed the protection of the tribe in order to survive. And obviously you needed them to procreate, and you needed them to hunt and gather and to create shelter and all the rest of that. So we unconsciously are adapting ourselves in order to be accepted by the alpha of the tribe. And that's whatever tribe you're in, whoever the tribe is deemed leader. And I don't care if that's a church group, or if that's a work group, or if that's a peer group, or a PTA group, what have you, you're going to start mimicking their behavior. So that means that if you want to change the behavior, you want to change the attitude, you want to change the performance standard of the people in your organization, it starts with you. You start mimicking it. Mimic the behavior, the attitude, and the performance standard that you want everybody else to pattern and repeat. And that's how you change it. So that's why leadership by example is the most important principle in leadership, because it will dictate the behavior of all those in your witness, all those in your tribe that you are responsible for stewarding. And that is attitude, mood, behavior, expectation, and performance outcome. The reality is this, Cody: people don't lack capacity. The human potential is enormous. They only lack a leader. And that's why it's the most important and most violated, because it requires the leader being the most positive, the most service-oriented, the most consistent. They have to set the pace. They have to set the standards. And it's not in words. Leader thinks that they go around making speeches. It's not words. They don't listen to you, but they watch you. And they're always watching you, and you're always on stage. And that behavior is going to get repeated. Look, leadership is an enormous privilege, because you have the ability to shape people's lives, literally shape their behavior, and thus shape their lives. So that comes with an enormous responsibility. It's a phenomenal burden, but it's also the reason why the leader gets paid the big bucks. And you see that throughout corporate. People understand why a leader is paid so much money. It's like, it's not fair. Is one person worth that much? Yes. Why? Because they're literally dictating the repeated behavior through maybe thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people. And leadership also comes with the biggest reward, and that is soulful fulfillment, knowing that you have made that indelible difference in somebody's life. So yeah, it's an incredible place to be, a way to spend your life. You want to build a legacy. You want to be a shapeshifter for the world, at least the world around you. Step into leadership.
Well, what I've seen even as our company's grown is in so many people, like you have to grow to keep up with that, right? You can't be the same leader yesterday that you were, 5 years ago, because as the company grows, it becomes more and more important. There's more responsibility on that. So
even if it's just to demonstrate a growth commitment and a growth mindset, even if it's just, I want everybody else to be growing. So the only way that I can get them to grow is to have them watch me growing. Yep. Have them watch me committing to growth and getting advice and hiring mentors and going through training, because they will notice, they will watch, and that will end up becoming part of their behavior pattern as well.